Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing you another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the DC Direct, DC Essentials, DCeased the Flash. This is essentially a zombie version of the Flash from DC's DC storyline. That was DC's answers to Marvel Zombies. DC Direct is back, baby. McFarlane has resurrected DC Direct like a phoenix rises from the ashes. I'm really pleased to see McFarlane bringing the last couple waves of DC Direct that would never hit stores. Hopefully, if these things do really well, they might pump out some actual brand new product, or some more other unreleased product that DC Direct showed and never got out. I ordered this figure from Amazon.com. It's supposed to arrive a few days ago, got delayed, and here it is. So let's go and check out the packaging. As you can see at the top, DC Essentials, DCeased the Flash, from DC Comics, DCeased, DC Direct from the source. This is the 34th figure in the DC Essentials line. Here he is in the package. He doesn't come with any traditional accessories, simply the figure. One side, got Flash all zombied up. At the bottom, got a bunch of credits, and there is a barcode in case that helps anybody. On the back side, you can see Zombie Flash, and here is the rest of this series. So with no further ado, let's open him up. Alright, now that we got this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. That was kind of a joke, as he comes with absolutely no accessories, not even a display stand. And that's okay by me, as I'm not much of a stand guy, not really much of an alternate hands guy either, not really sure what else a Zombie Flash would be appropriate to come with. So this is the Flash from the DC story DCeased, pretty much DC's answer to Marvel Zombies. So let's take a look. Start with his head here, and that is pretty much the coolest part of this figure. I love the fact that he has a whole new head sculpt, not simply just some paint thrown on there. You can see the mask ripped above the eye. It's all sort of bloodied up and damaged. His hair sticking out the top, mouth wide open, ready to eat some flesh, blood around the mouth. So far it looks fantastic. Going further down, he's got blood all over his Flash symbol, blood on his chest and torso area, blood on his arms. His overall suit, I believe, is darker than the regular version of the DC Essentials Flash. Unfortunately, I don't have that figure, and I wish I did. Looks like we have double-jointed elbows, double-jointed knees, a little bit of darkness to his boots there. The figure uses the same base body as the majority of the DC Essentials male figures, and you know what? It works for me. So far, I must admit, I'm liking what I'm seeing. And just a closer look at his face and head sculpt, probably the best part about this figure. Let's talk about a zombie with the Speed Force ability for a second. Now, a zombie's main weakness is going to be the fact that it walks or runs so slow. That's why they refer to him as a walker, Walking Dead. Of course, their other weakness is they get shot in the brain and they completely, fully die. But a zombie with the Speed Force ability, that would be unstoppable. Absolutely no victim beyond his reach. He could even run up the sides of buildings, if he was smart enough to know he could do that. Just kind of a scary concept. A super fast zombie. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, he's standing at about 6.8 inches tall, which you can translate to about 17 centimeters. Now let's check out his articulation. Start with his head here. Of course, it can rotate from side to side. He can look up about that far. Pretty nice for a running pose. Down about that far. Can tilt his head just a little bit from side to side, not too much. Shoulders on a ball joint, goes out a little bit less than 90 degrees, up, down, around, all that good stuff. He's got a bicep cut below that, double jointed elbows below that. His wrist can rotate and it's going to be hinged as well. He's got a traditional ab crunch, goes up about that far, down about that far. Traditional waist swivel. His legs are on ball joints, completely does a splits. They go forward about that far, back, not very much. He's got a thigh cut below that. Double jointed knees. Boot cut. Then his ankles go forward and back. They can rotate, tilt, rock. Now let's switch to a different setup. Here's a zombie Flash in the streets of Central City. A closer look at the zombie Flash creeping through the streets of Central City. Now these DC Essentials figures don't have any peg holes in their feet, so it's difficult to plug them into a stand and have them into a pretty cool running pose. This is about the closest I could get as Flash in a running pose, leaning against that barrel behind him. Now let's check him out next to some other action figures, starting off with some other DC Direct, DC Essentials figures. Now the first one I would like to compare him to would be the Flash from Series 1 of DC Essentials. Unfortunately, I don't have that figure. It's a pretty nice Flash. If I go back in time, I would have got that figure. Nice, clean sculpt, regular looking Flash. Exact same sculpt as Reverse Flash, who was also in Series 1. But here's this Flash next to this series of figures. We have the DCeased Superman, Flash, and Harley Quinn. Still waiting on Amazon to ship me that Supergirl from the wave. And here are all of the DCeased figures by DC Direct. Looking forward to the third wave, which is going to consist of Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Hood, and Deathstroke. Now let's take a trip down DC Essentials memory lane. Here's this DCeased Flash next to the figures I have from Series 1. Batman and Deathstroke. Series 1 also included the standard Flash and Reverse Flash. I didn't get any figures from Series 2. That series included Superman, Brainiac, Aquaman, and Black Manta. It's a pretty nice Superman and Aquaman. Here's the DCeased Flash next to the figures from Series 3, Batgirl, Nightwing, Joker, and Harley Quinn. From Series 4, I only got the Cheetah. While not exactly a Batman-related character, it's just a gorgeous figure, and I can have some fun interacting her with Catwoman. I mostly only focus on getting the Batman-related figures from DC Direct. Series 4 also had Wonder Woman, Supergirl, and Cyborg Superman. Definitely wish I had that Wonder Woman. It's a very nice figure. Here's Flash next to Red Hood. Red Hood was the first DC Essentials figure released by himself without a traditional wave. Then, next to the figures from the next assortment, this is Nightfall Batman and Nightfall Catwoman. This wave also consisted of Hal Jordan Green Lantern and Yellow Lantern Sinestro. This Nightfall Batman is one of my favorite Batman figures from the DC Essentials line, and frankly, one of my favorite Batman figures out there. Here's Flash, next to the Rebirth Batman 2.0 and the New 52 Nightwing. This assortment also had the Black Suit Return of Superman and the Speed Force Flash. This Rebirth 2.0 is also a very nice Batman figure. And here's Flash next to the final assortment of DC Essentials figures before DC Direct crumbled. This is a DCeased wave. We have the Joker, Batman, Aquaman, and Green Lantern. Happy they're continuing these DCeased figures. And now, here's Flash next to the newest wave of DC Essentials. Like I said before, still waiting for my Supergirl figure. I love the fact that McFarlane took the existing sculpted figures from DC Collectibles, DC Direct, and they're releasing them now. I'm sure it's a very good deal for McFarlane, as I didn't have to pay for a sculptor to make these guys. They're just simply cranking out what was already designed. I wonder if these things do really well, if maybe they'll continue with some never-before-designed stuff. Fingers crossed. While technically these Doomsday Clock figures are not part of the DC Essentials line, I consider it to be at least an offshoot of the line, as these figures use the same bodies and articulation style. Absolutely all of these figures use pretty much the same base body and buck. There might be some slight additions, like a different belt, or some shin armor. Now I know a lot of people hate this, but for the most part, I think it works pretty good. I like the way these figures look. They're pretty clean, pretty standard, they fit in pretty good together. I know the Flash, Sinestro, Superman, Green Lantern, they all use the same body as well. And here's my entire collection of DC Direct, DC Essentials figures. Can't wait to add the final wave. Now let's check them out. Next to some Flash figures from different various companies. Here he is, with all of my different McFarlane DC Multiverse Flash figures. Then, next to a Noble Toys Bendy Flash figure. And here he is, with his DC Direct and DC Collectibles Flash Brothers. And now, next to all my different Mattel Flash figures, here's my entire collection of 6 and 7 inch Flash figures, and there are a ton that I don't have. Now let's check them out, next to some other Speed Force characters. Here he is, with a couple of McFarlane Red Death figures. Then, next with Mattel and DC Direct Kid Flash, and with a McFarlane and a Mattel Reverse Flash. And finally, next to a DC Direct and Mattel Zoom. Here's the Flash, next to a couple of Palisades Resident Evil zombie cops. Then, next to several Mattel wrestling zombie figures. Now let's check them out, next to some action figures from different various companies, to see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a DC Direct figure, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and one way smaller. But we're going to start off by checking him out with some of his DC Direct and DC Collectibles brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figures, all from DC Direct, all 7-inch scale. And now, with some Jack-specific wrestling figures. And here he is, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. Then, with some McFarlane toys. And here, with some NECA figures. Then, next to some Mattel wrestling figures. And now, with some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers. And here he is, next to some Mezco 112 collective figures. Then, next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And here he is, with some Mafex figures. Then, next to some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And finally, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. Overall, it's a really cool Flash figure. His accessories are non-existent. His value is not there at $30 a pop. It's just not worth it for this figure, but I'm happy to support this line, as I really miss DC Direct, love those figures. His articulation is everything you'd expect from a DC Essentials figure. The sculpt and paint job are excellent. I thought the DC Essentials Flash was very nice, although I don't actually have him. And this figure shares the exact same body, but has that grotesque head. I think they did a really nice job. If I were to rate this figure, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I'm really enjoying these DCeased zombie figures. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.